very Malaysian. And we're here because of Malaysia. So let's give a round of applause for our country. Woo! Today's show is dedicated to the oppressed, to the ones unjustly held under the ISA, also known as the I Simply Arrest. It's great to be here at No Black Tie. We've got a full house. The venue can hold 80 people. We have 120 in the house. Thank you so much for the support. Mind if the table bookings were a bit messed up, please understand. They were made together by me, an Indian, and a Bangladeshi. So you can understand what happened. You know, people ask me all the time, Andrew, where do you get your material? Where does it come from? Do you think about it? Do you look for inspiration? I don't have to look for inspiration because inspiration gets delivered to me. Every morning, sharp 6 o'clock, my paperman Jim throws me the papers. It's what I call the Malaysian comedy. And these are the headlines that were here over the last week. I'm starting to suspect the DJ is Indian as well. All right. Thank you. He's so afraid to play the music. He's thinking, will I get held? Will I spend the next 20 minutes or 6 years in Kamunting? He'll never know, but yeah. This is what made headlines in our country. Jui Meng the spoiler. His move has affected Soileg's plans to go for the top post. Wasn't he always on top, Soileg? Or was it just the video? Other things that made headlines. Bogus Dato charged with cheating. A bogus Dato who was arrested on Tuesday was charged in a magistrate's court here yesterday for cheating a company director of 500,000 ringgit. Why the hell would you even give a Dato 2 ringgit? Don't they have enough for the APs and all that? But still, 500,000 ringgit. Dropped wallet gives robber away. This one really attracted me. A botched house break-in at Taman Bukit Beruang Utama saw the robber fleeing on foot in panic and leaving behind his wallet and getaway car. Yemeni student, I really thought this was an Indian fella, really. Because, you know, most Indian fellas, when they go to a bank, to rob a bank, they will slip a note to the bank teller saying, give me all your money on the reverse side of their business card. But still, you know, so, and there's so many things that attracted me. This one was number one. Award-winning cop charged. He faces 2 counts of accepting bribes. A traffic policeman who received the Best Service Awards twice claimed trial in a sessions court here to 2 counts of accepting bribes amounting to 1,100 ringgit from a car salesman. Only in Malaysia. That is why we're here today, to celebrate Malaysia. 1,100 ringgit. And their excuse is usually 1 coffee. Where are these people having coffee? For 1,100 ringgit, it better come with a Russian girl. You know, that's what I'm thinking. For 1,100, it's a lot of money. You know, it's great being a stand-up comedian because people come up to me all the time, tell me, hey, you must be proud, you're the youngest, you know, somehow you're the only Indian fella there. That is a lie. I am not the only Indian stand-up comedian, I have to admit. There's actually 2 of us. My name is Andrew Netto, and my counterpart couldn't make it tonight as he's working the night shift in the Sungai Siput toll booth. He's a bit busy, packing out his office and things like that. But yeah, it's great because people, when I come up, see, I love doing this. Can we have a round of applause for Andrew Netto? No, people clap. Very few jobs in the world allow you to do that. One of them is stand-up comedy. It would never work if you're a senior police officer. You know, you can't hear, you know, one constable standing in the middle in the front there. Please, everybody put your hands together. Charged with over 4 counts of bribery and graft. The $27 million policeman, ACP. You'll never hear it. You'll never hear a cop go up to the round of applause. But, you know, it makes me proud to be Malaysian because the most important thing about being Malaysian is our language. Wouldn't you all agree? It will not take you anywhere. Nowhere. Bahasa Malaysia is not going to take you anywhere. Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka can tell you you'll use it in Indonesia. That's only to communicate with your mate. I mean, there's no use. I mean, if our primary language was Spanish, for instance, okay, a lot of Indian fellas will get hooked up. Alright? If it was Spanish. Alright? Could work German, could work, no, but no, we chose Malay. two countries in the world speak it, us and Indonesia. And they're in turmoil too. So it doesn't really work. But the most important, I picked this up a couple of days ago off the net. And I was reading through a lot of articles and all that. And somebody had actually sent me this. And it was written by a Standard 4 boy, 10-year-old kid, who had just watched Transformers. Remember Transformers? If there was a Malaysian version and our ex-MIC leader was in it, he'd be a toll booth. So yes, we all remember Transformers, right? And this kid decided to write this article for his Karangan paper, you know. And I wish the education ministry took a look at this instead of telling they wanted to bathe Chinese people in the blood of the Keris. But still, I was hoping they would take a look, they would take a good look at this, because how many of y'all can't understand Malay? Can I see a show of hands? See the Indian girls putting up their hand. I'm Australian. I like that. I love the Indian girls. I tell you. Went to Brisbane on transit straight, not Malaysia. But yes, for those of y'all who can't understand Malay, again, can I see a show of hands? Is there anybody here upstairs? Yeah? Okay, you have lost nothing. Don't worry about it. I want to read you this article which really caught my attention. It starts like this. Pagi itu pagi minggu. Cuaca cukup sejuk sehingga mencapai takat suhu beku. Sebab itu saya tidak mandi pagi sebab air kola jadi air batu dan air paip tidak mahu keluar sebab beku di dalam batang paip. Pagi itu saya bersarapan dengan keluarga di dalam unggun api kerana tidak tahan sejuk. Selepas itu emak saya mengajak saya menemaninya ke pasar. Tetapi saya tidak mahu. Selepas emak saya menikam perut saya berkali-kali dengan garpu, barulah saya bersetuju untuk mengikutinya. Kami berjalan sejauh 120 km kerana pasar itu terletak 128 km dari rumah kami. Lagi 8 km nak sampai pasar, saya ternampak sebuah lori kontainer meluru dengan laju dari arah belakang. No, the driver was not Punjabi. Okay, so dia melanggar emak saya. Emak saya tercampak ke dalam gaung, dia menjerit aduh. Lepas itu emak saya naik semula dan mengejar lori tersebut. Saya pun terus berlari di belakang emak saya kerana takut emak saya melanggar lori itu pula. Pemandu lori itu nampak kami mengejarnya. It goes on. Dia pun memecut lebih laju, iaitu sama dengan kelajuan cahaya. Kami pula terpaksa mengejar dengan lebih laju, iaitu sama 2 kali ganda kelajuan cahaya. Emak saya dapat menerjang tayar depan lori itu. Lori itu terbabas dan melanggar pembahagi jalan, lalu bertumbung dengan sebuah feri. Feri itu terbelah 2. Penumpang feri yang seramai 100 orang semuanya mati. Pemandu feri itu sangat marah. Dia pun bertukar menjadi Ultraman dan memfire pemandu lori. Pemandu lori menekan butang khas di dalam lori dia. Lori itu bertukar menjadi robot transformer. Mereka bergaduh di udara. Emak saya tidak puas hati. Dia pun terus menyewa sebuah helikopter di Genting Highlands dan terus ke tempat kemalangan. Dia melanggar pemandu feri yang telah bertukar menjadi Ultraman itu. Pemandu feri itu terkejut dan terus bertukar menjadi pemandu feri semula. Lalu terhempas ke jalan raya. Pemandu feri itu pecah. Pemandu lori sangat takut melihat kejadian itu. Dia meminta maaf dari emak saya. Dia mengulurkan tangan ingin bersalam. Tetapi emak saya masih marah. Dia menyendangkan helikopternya dan mengeret tangan pemandu lori itu dengan kipas helikopter. Pemandu lori itu menjerit aduh dan jatuh ke bumi dan mati. Emak saya menghantar helikopter itu ke Genting Highlands. Bila dia balik ke tempat kejadian, dia terus memukul pemandu lori itu dengan beg tangannya sambil memari pemandu lori itu dalam bahasa Inggeris. Pemandu lori itu tidak dapat menjawab sebab emak saya bercakap orang putih. Lalu pemandu lori itu mati. Tidak lama kemudian kereta polis pun sampai. Dia membuat laporan ke ibu pejabatnya tentang kemalangan ngeri itu. Semua anggota polis di tempat kerjanya mendengar cerita itu dan terperanjat lalu mati. Orang ramai mengeruni tempat kejadian kerana ingin mengetahui apa yang telah terjadi. Orang ramai menyuraikan, polis yang bertugas It's all so messed up. Polis yang bertugas cuba menyurahkan orang ramai, lalu dia menjerit menggunakan pembesar suara. Orang ramai terperanjat dan semuanya mati. Selepas itu, emak saya mengajak saya ke pasar untuk mengelak lebih ramai lagi yang... Somebody's phone is ringing. It's okay. I'll come back. It's not really, I'll come back. Terperanjat dan semuanya mati. Selepas itu, emak saya mengajak saya ke pasar untuk mengelak lebih ramai yang akan mati. Di pasar, emak saya menceritakan kejadian itu kepada penjual daging. Penjual daging dan peniaga-peniaga berhampiran yang mendengar cerita itu, semuanya terkejut dan mati. Saya dan emak saya terus berlari balik ke rumah kerana terlalu penat. Sebaik saja sampai di rumah, kami pun mati. Itulah kemalangan yang paling ngeri saya pernah lihat sebelum saya mati. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the conduct of Bahasa Malaysia today. This is what is going on in schools. You know, and I was in school. I went to a public school. Best education I ever got. LaSalle PJ. It was a good school. Where were you all from? Sri KL? Just because you all named your school over some old date blah blah doesn't mean that the school is cool, So yeah, so I went to a public school and we didn't have the amenities like other schools. We didn't have a swimming pool on dry days. We had one on rainy days. It was called a padang because it would flood. We were never very good in sports. Still aren't very good in sports, and things like that. So I went to a public school, and my dad used to tell me, over the last 2 weeks, everybody had the Olympic fever. Did you all feel the Olympic fever? You're fantastic. We went there with 20 able-bodied players and came back with nothing. But still, kudos, of course, to Lee Chong Wei. Fantastic. Let's give him a round of applause. Dato Lee Chong Wei picked up the silver medal. All right, that was not bad. And the Olympic fever. And my father used to tell me, he told my mother, Shashi, I wish we sent this boy. He's got the bloody height. But I wish we sent him for some sports, some sort of sports. Pole vault or something, because he's really tall. We did the pole vault in school. My father never knew. We did a decathlon, actually, in school. We would use the bamboo stick, jump over the wall to skip school. That was our pole vault. Then we would do the 100-meter sprint because we wanted the teachers not to see us. Then we would do the 5-kilometer walk to MCOP Mall to watch a movie. But still, that was how we did Olympic sports in school. And recently there was the Paralympics. The Paralympics was another great event. A Malaysian picked up a gold. Fantastic. A not able-bodied Malaysian picked up a gold. We sent 20 monkeys to Beijing and came back with nothing. One silver medal. It's okay, we got the silver medal. But we send them for so many sports. I don't know if you all remember, a couple of years ago, if you drive around PJ, you'll still see Commonwealth 1998. 10 years ago, the sign is not finished. It is still, the Bunga Raya has not been completed. It's still, have you all seen that in PJ? We had a lot. Remember, we had a little irritating East Malaysian chap called Sapo Biki, who was a boxer, who looked like a bloody gremlin. He used to run around, box people and lift up posters of our ex-Prime Minister. That man, respect him. We also had a sprinter called Watson Nyambek. What happened to him? Is he working Guardian or what now? What happened to Watson? I don't know what happened to Watson Nyambek here. I think he just ran out. But yeah, we had Watson Nyambek. And he came on with the sunglasses. He would sprint, he would go on the finish line, he would go on the starting line, bend down. First time Malaysia falls down. Because we're Malaysian, we like to go one step ahead of the rest and think we're cool. So, he would do that, Watson Nyambek. And I was watching the Olympics. This year's Olympics was about 2 people. Michael Phelps, can you remember him? Guy swam so much. He swam. We had a swimmer as well. We had a guy who crossed the French Channel in a cage because there were sharks. So we let him go alone in the cage and we gave him a dato-ship. 2 days after that, another French fellow with no hands and no cage swam the thing in a faster time than him. That is Malaysia. We give a dato-ship to anybody. You got more than $50,000 in your bank account, doesn't matter if you're a government crony, still, we will give you a dato-ship. But yeah, it was all about Michael Phelps and another guy, Usain Bolt. Hey, you're 6'5" brother from Jamaica. This is what I don't get. The Indian girls assume they're Australian, the Indian fellas assume they're African. don't really understand that. Really, I don't understand the theory because, I mean, yeah, I know you've heard stories that they're carrying like, tree trunks in their pants and all that. But listen, we were fed acha and long beans. Okay, so it didn't work as an aphrodisiac, okay? But yeah, and we were looking at Usain Bolt and this guy broke the world record. How do you think he did it? How do you think he did it? No. I know most of you are assuming he got chased by FRU, but no. He grew up in Jamaica, and in Jamaica, there isn't much place to train. So I was picturing in my head, how the hell can you run so fast? And I was picturing in my head this conversation between him and his dad, probably, sitting there, and the father telling him, Hussein, I think you should run with the tiger. And he said, but Daddy, no, the tiger is so fierce. I am not complaining. Run with Pumbaa. Let Pumbaa go. He had no choice. The brother had to run. If you had a tiger chasing after your Frisky and Frosty, you so will run. You got no choice. So that was Usain Bolt, the man of the Olympics. African guy, Hussein. All the Malay fellas after that dropped the H in their name, from Hussein became Hussein. But Usain Bolt, and it was a fantastic Olympics. We had a lot of sporting events this year. We had the Euro 2008, of course. Of course it's Euro, so you'd never see an Asian country. You would not see Malaysia because we don't qualify for the qualifying. Okay. And you wonder why. Because have you taken a look at the Perak football team? Their entire backline is African. There's a guy called Solomon Chapita playing for him. Where was Chapita from? Kampong Gandhi. No. Chapita was from Africa. We brought him in. We paid them high salaries. All the taxpayers, the PJ buggers who paid tax. So that the local municipal council can go around and dig the roundabouts. PJ, they will dig the roundabouts 3 times a year. I don't know what they're burying inside there, but they dig it constantly. And I always wondered why we never did as well in soccer, as the Americans refer to it as the other countries, as Brazil, as places like this. For one reason, because to start off with, you need inspiration. We had Chevy Singh. They gave us a baby who could kick the ball. How are we supposed to get inspired by that? Bibles are not getting it. It's right. If you see a green can of QBB flying this way, it's on the front table. But still, it's that happened. That we never got well in football. We never got along well because of the commentary in football. Have you all watched Malaysian commentaries? Every bloody time, it's that fat Malay chap with the Dunhill sponsored. Now it's covered because he campaign Takna, Although it became campaign Nata, So they censor now, and he'll sit down there, and this big burly guy, I can't remember his name for the life of me. Can anybody remember that chap's name? Hasbola. Why they chose him? Because his name has something to do with the ball. Okay? His name was ini dia commenter pada hari ini Has Tangan. Never worked because football never used him. Hasbola. So Hasbola was the commentator, and I used to watch football because that time we didn't have Astro. I thank God we didn't have Astro because we watch so much Vaanavil now. It's not funny. It looks like we live in Chennai. But still, it's not my choice, alright? I don't know who the bloody hell Sanjivani is or Chitti. Okay, so I used to watch this on TV 123. Alright, of course TV3 had Berita Terkini. You all remember that? Still goes on every 30 minutes, same news, different day. But still, there was this guy, and he used to sit down there, and if you watched live telecasts of like Spanish football, of course you can't understand anything, but it's exciting. Ronaldo's like, golazo, goal! And you would hear, the guy would go, goal, until they brought back the ball to the center. So that was good, because that was really good, because they would do that. They would have exciting commentary, but not in Malaysia. In Malaysia, the commentary was at a different level. Hasbola. Ya, itu dia. Separuh masa pertama berakhir 0-0 dan tiada aksi di pintu gol. kita akan menjemput panel hakim untuk menceritakan sikit tentang permainan. Yang sebenarnya, aku tak tahu dia bang bola depan gol tu tak ada orang tak berjaring apa benda and they would go on and this guy would go on and he goes and he would like ya ini dia separuh masa pertama sudah berakhir, kita akan menyambungi dengan separuh masa kedua. Itu dia Zola dengan bola kepada Gustavo Poyet, kepada Zola, kepada Poyet, kepada Zola. Go. I never understood that. I never understood commentary, Malaysian commentary. You know, I never understood a lot of things that came out of the Malay language. Really, I'm stifled by all of this. You know, why does this paper keep falling? One of those days, huh? So I could never understand. But what I did actually grasp is, you know, when I was about 19, I joined a radio station called Hits.fm. Fantastic radio station, Malaysia's #1 hit station. I'm only saying that because they put my show on the radio. You can also tune to Light Museum XFM. Yeah, anyway, so I worked with this radio station and I worked with a guy who's here today with us, Gerard, also known as Chunky Monkey from Hits.fm. He's here with us today. And I worked together with Gerard and we used to go on air at this obscene time, 6 o'clock in the morning. Because for me, anything before 9 o'clock is obscene. You don't get up before 9 o'clock because you're wasting your day. The day starts at 9. My father believes the day starts at 5:30. 5:30? People are just walking in. My father's like, are you ready to go to church? Huh? Church? Evening mass. But I'd go for evening mass. One of the good Catholics. So yeah, you know, I used to work with this station and I used to have so much fun looking at the next Malay station, Era FM. Fantastic. Have you all heard of Era FM? #1 Malay station in Malaysia. 103.3 Era FM. Why I love Era FM is because of their DJs. Their women DJs are really beautiful. I have to give them that much. You know, I have to give the girls are really hot. But my inspiration there is Halim Othman. You all know who Halim Othman is? Halim Othman is going to curb piracy in our country because he will never let you listen to the whole song. Halim will interrupt the song about 20 times. I'll give you an example. DJ, can we have that track, please? Ya, itu dia baru dari Innuendo. Lagu Belayan Jiwa. Ini khas untuk Siti. Siti, apa khabar Siti?
Khabar baik, Abang Halim.
Ya, lagu ni kepada siapa?
Kepada boyfriend saya mencintai dia banyak.
Ya, dia Siti. Ini dia. Belayan Jiwa oleh Innuendo. Ya, itu dia cuaca hari mendung. Ya. RFM 103 di Kuala Lumpur. Ya. Apa khabar semua di Kuala Lumpur? Ya, itu dia Innuendo dengan Belayan Jiwa. Khas kepada Siti. Kuala Lumpur 2, you know, it would just, thank you DJ, it would just go on like that. They would just interrupt the song, so it never give you the chance to record the song and play it in your car. Because Halim would interrupt you about 20 times, you know, throughout the whole song. And I had fun working in the radio station, you know, it's great because you get to meet a lot of different people, a lot of different faces, a lot of hot girls. There are a lot of hot girls in radio. Alright, Gerard, do you stand by that? He's typing one or two lines, I disagrees now, but still, there's a lot of beautiful girls in radio. So I loved radio, you know, I loved working with radio. And they used to tell me, you know, you're going to pick between one, comedy radio, which one is it? And it had to be comedy. Because comedy is fun in Malaysia. There's so many things to laugh about, you know. In this country, it's a joke. You know, headlines make Mini Popia major hit. Mini Popia. Why would you want a Mini Popia? What good would it do? Don't we have enough Chinese films with Mini Popias? But no, why? Mini Popia? You know, and yeah, why Mini Popias? I don't understand that. You know, all the Chinese Chinese girl, oh, no. If I don't make it out here by today, the Yakuza were responsible. But anyway, it's great because, yeah, yeah, mini pop, yes. Yeah, there you go. And for some reason, the Chinese girls still date Chinese guys. Why? Why don't you date Indian fellas? Getting, the big banana. Why don't you all do the big banana already peeled? Some of us is already roasted, but why don't you all take us? I love Chinese girls. I love them. How many guys here could agree with me? The best girls to date, Chinese girls. It wouldn't be, the white girls are fun too. Don't get me wrong, I've got two friends upstairs, Arvin and Jeffrey. Both used to date British. And we thought we got rid of them 50 years ago. But still, they will only date British. And I'm like that. I will date any sort of girl. And I like Chinese girls. Not any sort of. They have to be girls, But yeah, Haji's type does not apply. But still, I really I like the Chinese girls. I mean, if you're into white screen in the front and flat screen at the back, I mean, who's stopping you? If you can live with that the rest of your life, great. It's not hard. Hang on. It is not hard to keep a Chinese girl happy. It is not hard. All you have to do is buy chopsticks. And you have to subscribe to Waladoy. They sit in front of the TV the whole day. You make your own food. And they'll eat. It'll be a problem-free relationship. Chinese girls, the best ones to date. Of course, there's the beautiful Malay girls as well. Can I hear it for the beautiful Malay girls? As well as the Chinese girls. Where are the Chinese girls? Make some noise. I am just seeing this outside my head, outside there. Bloody racist Indian baga. No, don't get me wrong, I'm not a racist, I hate everyone equally, but still. The Chinese girls are fun, the Malay girls are fun as well. Where are the Malay girls? Now they're scared because they don't know what to say. Come on, there must be a few of you guys here. Don't be scared. You can marry me, I can only get married once. You can marry me. Malay girls? These are Malay girls? Indian girls? Wow. Full force, Indian girls. Came with the Indian boyfriends who you can't see because the back is so dark. That's why they put me under the light. So, Indian, the Malay girls are great. The Malay girls are great to date. I love the Malay girls. Love the Indian girls. British. Can't marry the Indian girls. I can't do it. My mom pictures me marrying an Indian girl. Of course, she must be Catholic, so the wedding can take place in church. You're not getting anywhere else, not next to a pool, in a garden, and all that, okay? You're getting married to a nice Catholic girl in Assumption Church in PJ. Make sure you dress up properly. See, my mom's very particular, and she tells me about getting married one day, and the partners we choose because they give a church program called EE, Evenings for the Engaged. I call it Enough is Enough, but they give this program. And they look at harnessing the love between the couple because it's a lifetime commitment. That is the scariest word I have heard. My parents recently celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary. They're here tonight. 25 years. See, my dad and I think just alike. My mom, I asked her, I'm like, Ma, how do you 25 years? How do you do it? When I first laid eyes on your father, I told myself he was the one for me. There was nowhere else to go. There was nowhere else. He was the one for me. And even though he was not a Tamil, he was from the Malayali clan, but he was the one for me, definitely. Then I asked my dad, I'm like, Pa, how you doing? He said, I don't know. Still doing it right, it's going good. Shut up, don't ask too many questions. So, 25 years together, my goodness gracious me. 25 years of seeing the same woman every day. I have attention deficit disorder. 25 minutes is long. Can't stare into a girl's eyes for 25 minutes. It's hard. I can't even balance a relationship for 1 year. I'm finding it still difficult. But 25 years. And my mom would always tell me, it's like, Andrew boy, if you all get married, we'll just call a small group of people. We no need to call so many people. Small, just like 1, 2 relatives, you know. 1, 2 relatives. The rest all will call your friends. 1, 2 relatives. My mother has 8 brothers. 8 brothers. All of which have children. Okay, and once my extended family comes in, my mom's family actually goes up like computer RAM. 8 with their partners 16, children 32, cousins 64, 1 to 8. You know you're screwed when it hits 1 gig. Then you know like damn, this family is too big. So she wanted the small reception, just call a few people. And my sister's of course older than me, and they're trying to ponna background for her now and find her a guy. You know, so if there are any available Indian gentlemen out there, Maplas, any available Maplas? Don't worry, you can wear a suit to the wedding, not to wear vesti, but still, if you all are available, you can look for Melissa Nacho at the entrance. She's a beautiful girl, very tall with a black dress. If you all are interested in getting married, don't worry, it's an open criteria. She is educated. My father did not waste his time. She is a lecturer. She has a steady income, and she works for a Chinaman. So it's okay, you know, she's not a future. So, my mom would tell me, Andrew, we just call a few people. Huh? That uncle, that auntie, you know, your uncles, aunties, your cousins must call. If you don't call them, means that they feel very offended. Huh? And they are Tamils, you know, they won't buy that story about you posting the card and they not getting it done. Because nowadays they got email and then they got that Moonji book, got the Facebook and all that. So, you know, you must think that there is a way to contact all your relatives. Then I would tell my mom, well, okay, if we drafted out, if I got married and we drafted out, just on our side, who do we have to call? This uncle, done. I'd only have about 60 people. I could call the rest, could all be my friends, could be all of y'all. But that's when my mother comes in. She comes and says, Ayuh, but that auntie, you know, that Malacca auntie. The Malacca auntie had 2 daughters, you know. They got married, they called us. We must go, they must call auntie. But then they must bring the husband on. Then you know my Joe auntie. Joe auntie just got divorced. Just husband just left her. So you know the children, she's got to call all of them. And by the time we hit that stadium Bukit Jalil, he said, not enough, you know. So my mom would tell me this, and my mom still has these ambitions in the head of me marrying an Indian girl. Alright? She doesn't mind me marrying a white girl as well, because she claims the family could use a bit of color. But yeah, so she told me, you know, she's the semi-racism that I have for my own skin color comes also from her, you know, because that doesn't work out too well for me. Being dark is not going to take you very far. Okay, one of my friends and I have a ruling that after 7 o'clock we can't go out because JPJ looks for us 100% in there. You know, so it's not easy, you know, it's not easy. And I remember one day I was sitting at home and she told me, she's like, Andrew, why didn't you fry the papadam? So I fried the papadam and the first piece came out burnt. Not my fault, I don't know how to fry papadam. Alright, so I took out the papadam and I looked at it and I went, okay, Alva, the papadam looks like you. Papadam looks like me. You got girls who date you. You know, I like the Malay girls who are flirt around with all, they send me songs, they're like, Ala sayang, this song is very special for you. I'm like, what song is it? It's by a group called Ungu. The name of the song is Kekasih Gelapku. And that's how it works. My dark lover. You know? And my mom would tell me all the time, she's like, Andrew, we really have to, you know, get you all settled down. Melissa girls, so we'll have to get her settled down and all that. And this uncle, this auntie, and my mother's a very pious person. You know, she's a very holy person. She's a very, you can hear my sister laughing in the back there because she knows it's true. Because we call her the Popus. She's a female Pope. She's a Popus, she's the holy one, you know. She's the chosen one, she's a very holy person. Her excuse for everything, like the government's excuse for everything else, I say her, she just pray. Don't worry, just pray about it, it'll be okay. But mommy, I am having severe foot cramp. My leg is about to fall off. Don't worry, you pray. Dear Father in heaven, please save my leg. He says, no. Right? So, you know, it's great. Growing up in an Indian house is cool. It's cool. It's the best experience anyone could ever have. Really. I only have one sister. I have 2 dogs, which are family as well. They both look like me, big, black and furry. Except at times they get food more than I do, but still. It's great growing up in England because you see a lot of different things. I grew up with an ex-police officer. My father is an ex-cop. He's here today. Let's have a round of applause. Chief Inspector, in brackets, RTD, retired. David Nacho. Strike fear. Tell my friends will come and tell me, huh, what your father do? My father sells cars. La. Any car you want. My father. I said, oh, very good. What your father does? My father, a doctor. La. You know, any type of medicine you want, he can get for you. Other people come and tell me, my father owns a restaurant, he can come and eat, he get fat. I can tell you, my father's a cop, he's a cop. He shot anyone. Has he shot you? Once or twice, lah, but you know. So you know, growing up with a cop is difficult. It is when he was in the police, he was a very strict man. You know, because he would discipline us. Me. Just me. My sister got away with everything. Everything that went down in the house, my sister Melissa got away with it. My father would not belt us. He doesn't believe in belting. Because he said it's an unhumane practice. I agree to that. Do you all agree to that? Yes. He opted for the wooden spoon. Wooden spoon, you know. Mother be making curry, Melissa go get the wooden spoon. And you would get hammered by the wooden spoon. And it's painful getting hit by a wooden spoon. But it was all about discipline. And the other form of punishment in a Malayali Catholic house is to kneel down in front of the altar with your arms stretched out. Why? Why did they make us do that? And see, I did not have two thieves. Namely my sister. Okay, so I was punished that way. And we put up with it. It molded me to what I was today, the punishments. But my sister never got away. Got away with everything. Never got punished. Because as a child, she's a lecturer today, and as a child she wanted to be a teacher. She wanted to educate. She's doing a good job now. You know, she's teaching in a college called Utah. It's an MCA-sponsored college. The other day she came back, she told me, one of her foundation students were writing a story about ailments that hit young people today. Ailments that usually hit old people, but hit people today. 2 years ago, my father suffered from sweet pea. SWEETPEE, sweet pea. Diabetes, kencing manis. My father got sweet pea. And they have weird names too. You know, she's got a student called Hao Kok Chun. A brother called Hao Kok Lung. You know, he doesn't. How do you work with Hao Kok Chun? So she's always wanted to be a teacher, right? So she one day she comes up, which is a really want to do mixed Indian plus up there. She comes up to me with a story and she comes and tells me, say, Andrew, I want to teach you a few things. She's about 5 years old, I'm about 3. I was about that big. I wasn't born this size, don't get me wrong. I was about that big. And my sister would take the crayons and she would write on the wall, which was the blackboard. This was the makeshift blackboard. She would write on the wall, you know, today I went to school, A, apple, B, bande, C, D, dead, your father going to kill you, father. She would write these things in the wall. And my father would go ballistic because he had just painted the walls. And he'd come over and he'd go like, who did this? My sister would stand there. Andrew. I couldn't even spell my own name. I was standing there going, what? Bro, what? The writing was here, I was about that tall. And I'm no Yao Ming, man, I can't stretch. So she would say, Andrew, what? And then Andrew would have to face the wooden spoon. You know, and that was all right, that was okay. And I used to learn, you know, because I needed to learn to get away with these things. What sort of tactics can I use? And I used to use my sister's tactic. My father would call from the room, Melissa girl, come here. My sister would just walk out of the room. He called. No, go back. And you would let it go. He would let it go. So I thought to myself, Baga, it works for her, it'll work for me. So one day I remember I broke a pot in the house, a smoked pot, I can't remember, but one of the two. And my dad came. Who broke the pot? Everyone! I walked out the room. 7 years old. He called. You're not a pondan. I did not raise a pondan. Come here. Basically, get the wooden spoon. It only worked for her, you know? And there was a thing. Growing up in the Indian house was always full of different challenges. You would have different people walk in and walk out of the house. a lot of different faces have walked in and walked out of our house over the last few years, namely a lot of my ex-girlfriends. And my parents were always receptive of the girls I dated. I have to respect them for that. They never judged the girls I dated. Not the Chinese girls, not the Indian girls, not the white girl I mentioned this one. Not the Punjabi girls. Of course, their parents didn't like it. Lah. How much ghee is he bringing to the wedding? He can't bring us any ghee, don't marry him. And take a cow with it. They were still very receptive over the Punjabi girls and all that. It was really good. But I dated a lot of different colored girls. Listen, I have dated girls that are white, blue, black, green, Barney's daughter. I've dated so many different girls, and the challenging ones were the Indian ones. The Indian girls are fantastic to date. I once went out with this Indian girl who, let's conduct a small poll. Can we have a show of hands? How many Indian girls in the house? Please, don't be shy. Even you're from Australia, she's so proud. There you go. Can we have a show of hands? How many Indian girls? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up there, full Indian girls upstairs. Jeffrey must be having a good time. So, the Indian girls. And where did you study? Yes. Where? Studied in London. What are you drinking tea and studying, or is just studying? What were you studying? Biomedical science. And where are you working now? STEM Life. And what do? They make they bank stem cells. So what do you do with stem cells? No, what do you do with the stem cells? So you bank them. Can I use them? For anything? Can I grow an extra hand? No. I could use 1 or 2 more. But stem cell, biomedical science. How about yourself? Where did you study? Nottingham. In Samania? Oh, the one in England. Nottingham, England. I remember this point, I'm doing the American degree program and I transferred out of college. All my friends were like, I'm leaving to Gold Coast next week. I'm transferring, finish my 2 years. Where are you going? Segi, Subang. All I could afford. We went to Segi, Subang. And a lot of girls would come and, right, study in the UK. Where? Uluklang, is it? No. My brother studied in the LA. Where? Lebong. They would study. Why overseas? Why? Education here not good enough, is it? Okay, what here? People change to Ultraman, all right. What's wrong with education in Malaysia? Very pachadwa. It's good, the education here. But the Indian girls, how many locally educated Indian girls? Wow. Where from? Huh? The military academy. This is where it's useful when your father's a policeman. 2 bulletproof Vespa. Yeah, so military academy. Fantastic. Was it hard? You see, I like her responses. Yep. Yep. There you go. She's probably going to drop and ask me to give me 40 or outside. But still. Anybody else studied locally? Locally educated Indian girls. Right there. Whereabouts? University Malaya. Fantastic. Is it still there? Oh, it's still there. It's still there. Yeah, it's in our house. It's still there. Still there. Yeah. Okay. So Indian girls cannot study. Very few, handful will study locally. The rest, where they got no money, also must study overseas. Foreign education. My sister studied in Australia. I know. Oh, first 1 month when she was there, I was eating Maggi mee. Not that bad. I had 2 buckets. So, they must study overseas. And I dated your exemplary Indian girl who had to leave overseas. She had no choice. She could not study in Malaysia because the education was not good enough, because you would come out with a local degree. What's wrong with the local degree? Exactly. Very pachadwa, man. Right, local degree. Plus mother turned Ultraman. Local degree. Understand why you all leave? So, I dated this one girl. Of course, she came with a very typical Indian name. It was 15 syllables long. I could not pronounce it. But you know, they would have that short form in front. That short form Indian name. Or it will not even sound Indian, but they'll have that name in front. You know, you just get a bunch of Indian fellas coming out. Hey, what's up? My friend is Kumar Gesu, but my friends call me Roger. Last name is Mayalagan, but they still call me Roger. But you know, like this, I don't get it. I don't get it. They got the short name. They got the short name, you know. And somebody's smiling in the front table. And they got that short name that does not have anything to do with the Indian name. And so I dated this Indian girl, and she actually moves off to Australia, and we were still dating. We did something called a taboo. It's called long distance. Long distance relationships do not work. How many of you all agree to that? How many of you all disagree? Mom? Upstairs, who disagree? How old are you up there? Oh, sorry, how old are you up there? 23, and where is the boyfriend? Mexico? What are you doing in Mexico? I know, the Indian plus, you're studying in Mexico. Oh, he's studying in Mexico. And where? Jose Cuervo Institution of Technology? Sorry? Ita. Idam. Okay. Mexico, fantastic. Long distance relationships in Mexico. Wow. Most Indian fellas every week in Bangsa also go to Mexico. It's called Camino. $5 a shot, they'll be in Mexico after 4. But, you know, Mexico, that's fantastic. So I can't do long distance. It just does not work for me. I have trouble dating a girl in Puchong. I live in PJ. Keeping them out of range is not hard. Indian girls keeping them out of range means like holding a live wire. So, I dated this Indian girl who moved off to Australia. She went off, and at the airport, I was just telling a few of my friends, I went to set up a friend the other day in the airport, and I was telling them it was a drama in the airport because the mother had never seen her go more than 30 feet away from her sight. So she was crying, you know, the mother was crying, and Indians, when they cry, it is very emotional. They will hit themselves. Why? I don't hit myself when I cry. I don't know when you dump me. I don't do that. Indians will hit, and they don't, and you know, they hit as in King Kong hit, you know, it's bad. And they would abuse themselves because they wanted to feel the physical pain, because the emotional pain was already given by their khaki bottle husband. So they wanted to feel that physical pain. And they would hit themselves. And this girl's mother, she hit herself, she cried, she rolled on the floor in circles. She was like in fits. She's rolling, oh, my daughter is going, my daughter. The only fellows who were actually not embarrassed by the fact that the Bangladeshi guys, because they didn't have to clean the floor now. Right? So, you know, so she went off to Australia, and she gets there, and she calls me, and she's like, starts crying on the phone, telling me how much she misses me. See, for Indian flow, when your girlfriend goes overseas, means you're single again. What happens in PJ stays in PJ. Doesn't go out. So, I was quite happy. Ooh, you come here, freedom. So, you know, and I was thinking to myself, oh wow, she went overseas, and I was really happy for her and all that. She goes overseas, she calls me, she cries on the phone. Sam, I miss you so much. I'm like, yeah, I miss you too. I miss you too. What is on the phone? Can you wait? Monica, you know, so I told her, I said, you know, it's okay, don't worry about it. She's like, yeah. And she would call me after that, you know, in subsequent days. Oh, darling, how are you? I'm just getting settled in, blah, 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 blah. And after 3 months, she did the classic Indian girl thing. She dumped me, ran another white boy. So, she leaves me for George, or whatever his name is. You know? George or Michael or one of these white boy names. I mean, Jeffrey, you know, she leaves me. She leaves me for one of these white boys, and I can deal with the rejection. It is okay. It doesn't matter. Okay, you want to leave? It's okay. Plenty of fish in the sea, right? Plus here we got so many different races. There you only go white. A few Indian plus, but still. So she leaves. she leaves and she leaves me, and then we stop talking 3 months. And I start to miss her, and all that. But ego, like Indian flag. Ego is bigger than pride. We'll never swallow ego. Pick up the phone. I don't need to call her. Jeffrey, I'm sorry, I beg to differ. Julius is a different story, but no. I would not call. I've got a friend, he only dates white girls. Don't know why. It's a bit dark, I know what you want, but still. And I would never pick up the phone number. Never. Malayali. Tamil. So I would call up and I saw international. I saw call. I saw the words call there, so you knew it was an international call. And I was thinking to myself, should I pick up? Should I pick up? So I picked up. I'm like, hello, darling. Hi. Who is this? Oh, it's Navi. What happened to you? Oh, nothing much. How are you doing? I'm okay, but you don't sound too well. Oh, I'm smashingly splendid. Smashingly splendid. Smashingly splendid, darling. You don't sound... Are you constipated? Rubbish! Okay. Why do you sound like that? Are you having a sore throat? What the hell are you talking about? Talking. Wasn't that the fellow who wrote that Lord of the Rings book? Was that Tolkien? Something same. What are you talking about? So I'd be like, nothing much. What are you talking about? And she'd tell me, she'd ask, like, how's things there? Oh, it's all right. No, it's great and all that. Indian girls. They will go to, I missed it out. I flew into Australia last year. There must be a green lane, red lane, and a slang lane, that they must walk through, that they must just cross this lane. Okay, I'll see you all later. Give me a call, give me my Australian number. Call me, that's terrible, it's terrible. So you can't hear me? So what are you saying? Hold on, let me come closer. I saw you call me. There must be a slang line. Right? And I'm used to this. I'm used to the slang line, I love the slang line. I like that because I meet a lot of people with fake accents all the time. People look at me and go like, you don't have an accent, where are you from? Malaysia. Sound like this. Can't do anything about it. So, I head shake this way, too bad. So, the slang, and I was actually in Australia with my sister once. We were clubbing in Perth, in this place. Somebody actually made noise for Perth. Why? That place is more boring than typing. There's more to do in typing. There's a zoo in typing, for God's sake. So she would go, and I met this guy. Sorry, me and my sister went at Ruby Room, this club, and I just come downstairs, saw an Indian fella standing there. For an Indian fella in a country full of white people, you're happy to see another Indian. So I walked up to him, bro. How are you? Oh, what's up, guys? How's it going? You alright? Okay. So, bro, you've been here a long time. Bloody long time. Smashing time I've had here. Oh, okay. Looks at me and asks me, where are you from, cuz? I'm like, Malaysia. Oh, you macam ibang kia lah. Kepong. Apa? Okay, so I got used to the slang line, I would love the slang line. It's beautiful because they have the fake accents. Why don't y'all go and study in Africa? Come back with an African accent. I'd kill to see Indian girls talking like, I do not know what he is talking about. Stupid Indian boy. What is wrong with him? I'd kill to see study in Africa. My name is Ratika, but my friends call Tika. You know? And like Russell Peters used the click, I love the click idea. I wrote to him once and told him I'd name my son the click. It'd be too bad. TM not lie one day. So, you know, I thought to myself, the slang, the fake, you gotta love the fake Indian accent. You know, it won't take you very far. It'd probably get you a HSBC call center job. You probably could work in HSBC. That's as far as it'll get you. I don't know how they leave India and come back with this slang. Why they date the white bird? Why? They're not that big popias, right? You know, getting remember?
How do you know, Andrew?
So thank you. So, you know, and I would do these things, and I would date these sort of girls. And my mom would be, you know, be really, really pleased when I brought home the Indian girl, the occasional Indian girl. Very good girl, huh? Good family. You know, good education. I got girls started degree same time as me. They finished starting the second degree. I'm still completing the first. So, you know, so it's like that. And speaking of completing my degree, I've actually recently enrolled in a new college. It's called SEGI. Not SAGI, SEGI. Alright, SEGI Institute. SEGI. So anyways, I'm in SEGI. Alright, great university college, and it's a local college. Alright, it's in Subang. So you would expect people from close vicinities to be in that college. You expect people from Puchong. Okay, you expect people from PJ. Sophisticated Indian players. From PJ. Expect us in Klang, sir. It's 10 minutes down the Kasas. So I've got this group of people. It's different. It's different environment. There's four types of people in my college. And you can namely see them when you get into the lift. Right? Klang. Brickfields. Percent. Okay, so. நம்மள கைங்க. யாரை கூப்பிடா? Faucet Guru கூப்பிடா. So Indian guys. Alright, so I study in SEGI University College, and it's great because you go into the lifts. There are 3 lifts. They are racially discriminated lifts. One lift will be full of Chinese, one lift will be full of Indians, one lift will be full of Malays. Right? So you'd walk into the Malay lift and you'd not see anybody. Because not everybody's on a Mara scholarship. No. You'd walk into the lift and you'd see them squatting down. For 1 floor, they must squat with the shui bag, you know. That helmet rumpet bag, you know. They will carry their, holding the helmet in one hand. Apa kelas ni? Kau kelas apa? Apa kedua? Di mana ya? Kau tahu? And you know, that's the type of guys you see in the Malay lift. The Chinese lift was different. The Chinese lift, when I walked in, they were so amused. Indian fella walks into the lift. Hiya, skin color like Hokkien mee. I mean, you stand there and go like, okay. And they would cam haw in the lift. Going up 2 floors, they can cam haw. Hiya, come, girlfriend, take photo. Standard Chinese girl pose, come smile. You know, Chinese girl lift. There's a lot of space because they're not really curvaceous, so you can fit yourself in anywhere, you know? So, then was the challenging part for me. It's the Indian lift. Never in my life have I walked into such dark territories. You can't see them, but you can smell them. Because lifts with the Indian flesh smell of a combination of sambrani and coconut oil. And I don't understand why they smell of incense and coconut oil. What are you doing with coconut oil? Right, and I would see these people in the lift, and it's hard studying there because I should have gone to Australia. You know, I should have come back with a fake accent. I was born in a kangaroo's pouch, right? So, I should have come back with an accent, but no, I didn't get a chance to go to Australia. So I had to study locally. And I have actually no regrets of studying locally because I think local education is not bad at all. You all agree? All the Australian girls. I don't call them Indian, they're all Australian. British. The British Indian. They got a clothing line named after them. The British Indian. Very good. We also got a shoe line named after, it's called Bata, but never mind. General's daughter, ladies and gentlemen. From military school. I'm scared now. Tell your uncle to park the tank that side. Alright. So can you just show everybody your bag? That's not big. Yeah, I could have gone on the Survivor and survived it more than that. Alright, so what would you carry? I mean, other than grenades and guns. Ooh. All wallets. Indians are doing well today. High protein vitamin E cream. Chinese fellas just carry E. And keys, handphone. And how many handphones do you have? One's good enough. I have to carry two. Keep in my pocket. Bags. Huge bag. Once again, thank you so much, sir. I think it's amazing. Shira. Lieutenant Commandant or Major Shira. Ladies and gentlemen, Major Shira. Right here. Somehow I'd rather be in Kamunting than to walk out those doors now. It's going to be quite painful. But Shira, ladies and gentlemen, that is an average size. Any other ladies in the house with big handbags? Upstairs? I said big handbags, not bushy hair. Handbags, big handbags. No? All the women came with average size handbags today. My sister, there you go, there's one in the back there, another one. Did you come from the market today? No? Okay. I like that big handbags. What do they carry inside? So much of things. My sister is a handbag freak. She's only got 2 hands, but she's got about 30 handbags. I mean, she's also got 150 pairs of earrings and only 2 piercings. Why do they buy excess things? I don't understand. I can't. She buys handbags from Guess. And she likes to come home and tell my dad, Pa, I just bought this from Guess. How much Guess? No, how much you Guess now? Guess. They would buy handbags from Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton, LV. I buy stuff from Louis Vuitton, but Louis Vuitton. How many of y'all have actually seen Louis Vuitton? Don't worry, I'll wait. No? Louis Vuitton, anybody? No? If you carry the bag called Achai, I'll tell you where Achai is. Down there. Selling handbags, telling straight. See, they would carry stuff. Then they start to carry bags with Indian sounding names. Salvatore Ferragamo. Salvatore Ferragamo. I thought there's a Indian flag called Salvatore Ferragamo. I didn't realize Salvatore was Italian. Versace, dead gay man. Versace, great, Versace. They carry all these different handbags, and I don't understand what women confuse me at times. Chinese New Year or what? Gong Xi Fa Cai. But you enjoy. Okay. So I didn't get the handbags thing, and it's great because every time my sister would bring home one of these handbags, and Mom was happy because Mom could use it. Mom could always use the handbags and all that, and she could share. They like to share, and then they share a lot of things. Yesterday they had this conversation in the car, which me and my father were oblivious to. They were talking about different cup sizes. Like, we don't know about things like that. Ask any Indian player. Tell me the difference between an A cup and a B cup. Okay, the tequila cup is this big. The whiskey glass this big and a pilsner this big. That they'll know. Indian Flash, a great Indian Flash. And a lot of my friends are Indians. I love Indian Flash. I have all my boys Indians. Oh, where are the boys? All of the Indians. And I party with them a lot. We party together a lot. We make it a point to go to every different other club. You know, recently we've been going to MOS, the Ministry of Sound. Have you all heard of that club? Have you all been there? Go to MOS. If you're single, go to MOS. It's great. All right, and if you need guests, please give me a call. So, MOS is good. MOS, we've been going there recently, and I've been taking time to observe the people in my surroundings, and nothing has changed with the girls in clubs. I'm sorry, nothing has changed. Guys are the same. Their tolerance levels have gone up. Okay, but girls, nothing has changed at all. They still scream when they hear their favorite song. Why do you all do that? Hype man goes, all right, here's the new one from Egg. Oh my God, I love this song. Ah! Oh my God, that's my jam. That is my jam. Why? All right, and Indian girls have a generic Indian girl dance. Do you all know what Indian girl dance is? For some odd reason, they will go to the club even though it's hot, but they'll have hair until the floor, but they'll hold it up here and they'll dance. DJ, can we have the music, please? Can we have it for the Indian girl dance? Why? Letting out their gas, is it? Why the booty shake? I mean, yeah, great, we had Beyonce, but we didn't ask Mangama to do the same thing, right? And I would watch this, and I would watch, we go for an event called Mixtape, so you got a lot of music being changed, and you'd see the Indian girls doing the R&B dance, you know, and they would scream every time they heard their favorite song on the podium. Can we have all the ladies on the podium, all the girls on the podium? Yeah, well, it's a great song, you know, and I don't know what the excuse is when they leave the house, because they come out with the cardigan all, you know. Indian girls come out, all the girls come out with the cardigan all, fully covered up all, you know. And then when they come out of the car, only all the vavums will come out, you know, so. Great, I mean, all the Indian girls know exactly what I'm talking about. Y'all all went through that one point where y'all had to hide from Appa, because your father would turn around and tell you, not enough cloth, is it? We are a poor family. Cannot afford. Huh? Mother no thread. Huh? Put some clothes on the girl. You cannot let her go out this way. And you'll be pulling your skirt at that point. That's so skirt. You know, that sort of thing. Don't you? There are a lot of Indian girls. You know how they are. So, it's great because then you also see the different sort of people who dance in the club. Chinese girls. Hey, sure, Chinese girls. Woo! Chinese guys? Chinese also shallow. No, Chinese guys, where are you guys? Come on, show yourself. Go one right there, two right there, there you go. Guys, I can't dance, okay? Except anything in you, so. Stick to the lion. Okay? Stick to the lion dance. That works for you. Tong chang, tong chang, tong chang, tong chang, tong. That works for you, alright? Don't dance. Please, don't dance. Okay? I have to wear sunglasses to clubs now. I don't want to see. Because I recently, a couple of months back, went out with my friends for a rave in Port Dickson for Tiesto. Did you all hear Tiesto? He's never coming back here. He's never coming back here. Because the papers, the day after we came back from Tiesto, my dad gave me the papers. This is what you all were doing, is it? This is how it is, huh? You told me you're going for a music festival. Festa. And then you'd see the headlines the paper read Pesta Lia Wild Festival. Kebanyakan pengunjung pesta ini keturunan Melayu dan Cina. A majority of the partygoers were Chinese and Malay. Why we didn't go, is it? Huh? After 7 o'clock we were not there, is it? There was lighting, man. I was there. Alright? And I went for this. Pesta music. You know, and they would put, kebanyakan pengunjung, a lot of the partygoers were on all sorts of illegal substances. And the photo was what made me proud. Chinese fellow holding a beer can, helping his passed out Indian friend from the floor. Just like that. Chinaman helping the Indian fellow passed out on E-man. That is not something you would see. But he was helping him up, And I was watching this pesta music. So we'd gone down, the boys were having a good time. We were partying hard and all that. And I like trance music. Trance music, for some reason, whenever we go, we wear sunglasses. I don't know why. I never figured it out. Everybody was sunglasses. I thought, go that party. All my pictures were, my mother would say, this was and then the girls, two girls, why are you wearing glasses at night, but? So, I told my mom, went for it, I said, yeah, people went for it. Tripping is not good to see because a lot of them are tripping and past that. Oh, tripping, they fell down when they're walking. So, my mom, tripping means right. Fall down. I said, no, mama, they were not tripping, they were on drugs. Drugs? What? Taking marijuana? Smoking ganja? I said, no, ma. I said they were illegal substances like LSD and ecstasy. How can you say those things in front of the Jesus altar? How can you do that? None of the altars about. Go wash your mouth with Clorox. Wash your mouth with Clorox. How did that come up? Wash your mouth with Clorox. I hope none of you kids actually tried that. Do you know the severe effects of washing your mouth with Clorox? You don't say that type of words. I'm not in front of the altar. Father's here. He does all these things. Take the wooden spoon and beat you. So, and I went there and there's a lot of things I would pick up at these raves and great raves. And one of them was the standard Chinaman dance. We're used to dancing like this. That Dapang Gudda. That whole dance, that whole shovel. Because our forefathers were construction workers, that's all they knew. We were used to dancing like that. We were dancing like that the whole time. We were rolling on the floor. We didn't know how to do the running man. We sure as hell didn't know how to do the Bhangra. But I picked up the Bhangra because the Bhangra is a very simple dance. It is not hard. It may look hard, but it's not. Because I picked it up for my best friend who's a Punjabi. She couldn't be here. And she taught me how to do the Bhangra. It was very easy actually. It was like a household chore. Dancing the Bhangra because it was very simple. Because you would have to do a few simple steps. For example, you would have to on the tap and unscrew the light bulb. I could do that. You have to shoot to the stars. You have to have the shopping cart and you have to take things from the rack and put it in. You have to act like you don't know. And point at other girls. You also had to feel the water. Hot water, cold water, feel the water. Hot water, cold water, feel the water. Hot water, cold water, feel the water. You also had to wash your clothes, Hot water, cold water, wash the clothes. Hand. And, I thought to myself, it's not that hard. If these guys can dance it, so can I. my first girlfriend. You know, for my first girlfriend, who's now my best friend. And she taught me how to do the Bhangra. And we dated ages and ages ago, when I was like 13, I think. Okay? So long ago. Hey, a lot has happened since then, okay? So, long time ago we dated, when I was 13. And at 13, my dad was still in the police, if I'm not mistaken. Or he had just come out, so he still was in the police here. Still at the police mentality, still very strict. And in Indian house, you must remember something. You cannot call an Indian house after 10 o'clock at night. Don't call an Indian house after 10 o'clock at night. Unless you want Major here to chase you with a gun, or my father with a wooden spoon. Don't call after 10 o'clock at night. I learned this, okay, because my dad used to pick up the phone and he used to tell, Roy, your friend's calling so late. He was simple, but I had one more of my friends. He's studying in Russia now, Ambi. And Ambi used to tell me that when people used to call his house, it was very different. Because one day I called his house at 9:30 at night. 9:30. I pick up the phone, I dial the phone, and the father picks up the phone like, hello, who's this? I'm like, hi uncle, Andrew here. Who died? Sorry uncle, who died? No one died, because only when people die you call it this time. All Indian plus die at 9:30. So this never happened in my house. My dad would never do that. But you know, I would get calls and I used to cheat my father. I used to try to bend around, but you can't really do it. I still suck at it today. Okay, he's a human lie detector. He could see me from a mile away if I'm lying to him. From body language, you know, I can only do it with girls. But no, so from body language, he used to tell me. He used to say, he used to catch me doing all these naughty little things I used to do as a child. And one time, I remember the girl called the house. She calls the house, the phone. That time we were experts, you know, so we'll pick up the phone and hold the engage button. So as soon as you hello. Hi, Sayang. How are you, darling? How are you? I'm okay, Sayang. How are you? Makan di? Yeah, babe, I ate today. How about you? Oh, I ate today. So, are we going clubbing this week? Yeah, we're going clubbing this week. So, how's things with you? Okay. Parents all sleeping. Yeah, all sleeping. And all of a sudden, I would hear the extension go. And see, at this point, I was not stupid. I knew it was my dad. I immediately knew it was my father. So I would straight slip in the cover line. Yeah, so we're going to the library this week. Yeah, okay, yeah, your science homework finished. Yeah, but I thought we were going like, no, library. And at that point, my father would ask the standard Malaysian thing. Andrew boy, are you on the phone? See, that is the point. I wish I knew VK Lingam because I could say it sounds like me, it looks like me, but it's not me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. You guys have been an entertaining crowd. Oh, Sammy, how was I supposed to know that you were losing your seat? Oh, Sammy, your secrets have now been leaked. And now you're playing hide and seek. Show me how you want it to be. Tell me, Sammy, why I wasted all my postal votes. The petrol price is killing me. And I must confess, the told us shit. And I'm around you, I lose my hair. Give me a sign. Sammy and your life of crime. Oh, Sammy, the reason I'm marginalized is you. And we have no 10%. Oh, bloody Sammy, there's nothing that you would do. That's just the way you planned it. Houses from Perth to Central West. Tell me, Sammy, who's the cow you paid in ACA? The petrol price is killing me. And I must confess, you're total shit. And I'm around you, I lose my hair.
Give me a sign. Sami and your life of crime. Oh, Sami, Sami, now that ain't not much is over. Oh, dirty Sami, you better run for cover. I must confess that all of these lies are killing me now. What happened to our scholarships? We're giving, where's all the money? Sami, Sami and your life of crime. The petrol price is killing me, and I must confess, the tolls are shit, tolls are shit. When I'm around you, I lose my head. Give me a sign, Sami and your life of crime. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You've been a smashing crowd. God bless everyone, and let's work together to banish the ISA.